So let's talk about something that's complicated, super personal, and for a lot of us, a real challenge: the relationship we have with our own bodies. We're going to unpack the science behind how we see ourselves, so let's just dive right in.
Okay, let's kick things off with a big question. We're all told to eat healthy, right? But where exactly is that line between being careful and being completely obsessed? It's a really blurry boundary that, honestly, so many of us are trying to figure out every single day.
And check out this number. It's kind of staggering. Some studies suggest that up to half of the entire population might have a problematic relationship with food, exercise, or their body image. This is not some small niche issue. It's a massive, widespread thing that we really need to understand better.
To really get a handle on this, we first need a framework. So let's take a look at what experts call the eating spectrum.
You know, it's not so black and white anymore. Not just a simple case of being sick or well. Instead, it's way more helpful to think of our eating behaviors as being on a continuum. So on one end, you've got a healthy, pretty flexible relationship with food. Then on the other extreme end, you have clinically diagnosed eating disorders. But right there in the middle is this huge gray area called disordered eating. And that's where a ton of people are actually living.
So that brings us right to the heart of it: body image. What do people actually mean when they talk about a body image disturbance? Let's break it down.
At its core, it's all about having distorted ideas and feelings about your own body. And it's not just as simple as disliking a part of yourself. It goes way deeper than that. Researchers have actually broken this down into two very different components.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because it's like two sides of the same coin. First, you have what's called a perceptual disturbance. That's a mismatch between the size you think you are and the size you actually are. You might literally see a different person in the mirror. Then there's affective disturbance. This is the mismatch between how you see yourself and how you want to see yourself, your ideal. This is all about those feelings of dissatisfaction.
And this idea helps us make sense of things like orthorexia. It's the perfect example of how trying to be healthy can spin out of control and become really unhealthy. With orthorexia, it's not about how much food you eat like with anorexia. It's an obsession with the quality and the purity of the food. These super rigid rules and the anxiety around eating bad foods can totally isolate you from friends and family and cause serious health problems, ironically, all in the name of health.
So, the big question is, why is this so incredibly hard for so many of us? Let's get into the factors that are driving all of this.
It's really tempting to just simplify it, right? To say it's just a lack of willpower or to just blame everything on Instagram. But the real story? Well, as the research shows, it's so much more complex and deep-rooted than that.
This diagram really shows how it's never just one thing. It's this complex web of interacting factors. If you look at the very bottom, that's the biological foundation. We're talking specific genes and even our basic brain chemistry. Building on top of that, you've got our individual personality traits. Things like being compulsive or inflexible might push someone toward restrictive behaviors, while being more impulsive might be linked to binge eating. And then, layered over all of that are the cultural factors, that constant societal pressure. All of these things pile up to create a unique vulnerability in each of us.
So, yeah, you're looking at this perfect storm of our biology, our psychology, and the world we live in that makes this whole thing such a struggle.
Okay, so if it's that complicated, then that simple just eat less advice is, well, it's just not going to cut it, right? So what does a healthier, more effective approach actually look like?
This table lays it out perfectly. The traditional diet approach, counting calories, is all about one goal: weight loss. But the data is super clear. Most people regain that weight within 5 years. Now, contrast that with non-dietary approaches like intuitive eating. The goal there isn't weight loss. It's about healing your relationship with food. And the long-term result? People see way bigger improvements in their mental and emotional well-being around eating.
A huge roadblock for so many people is this idea of self-discipline. But what if we've been thinking about it all wrong? It's not some magic personality trait that you're either born with or you're not. It's a skill. It's something you can actually learn. It's the skill of taking action based on your bigger goals, even when you don't feel like it in the moment.
So how do you actually build that skill? The key is you got to start small, like really small. Don't try to change your entire life overnight. Just commit to one small thing a day, whether you feel motivated or not. Maybe it's just choosing to drink a glass of water once. When that starts to feel easy, then you add a second thing. You're basically building a muscle, and practicing this skill in other parts of your life, like with sleep or exercise, actually makes that muscle stronger for your eating habits too.
Now, we can't have this conversation without talking about body positivity.
But a lot of what we see today has kind of missed the original point. See, at its heart, it was never just about feeling good in a bikini. It actually started as a social justice movement, created by and for people in marginalized bodies to fight for equal rights and respect for everyone, challenging the whole idea that there's one right way for a body to look.
Okay, so with all that in mind, what can we actually do? How can we find support, either for ourselves or for someone we're worried about?
If you're concerned about someone, how you bring it up is so important. The best advice is to focus on their feelings, not on food or how they look. Use I statements so it doesn't sound like you're blaming them. Something like, hey, I'm worried because you seem really down lately. And this is crucial. Avoid talking about their appearance at all. Even a compliment can accidentally reinforce the idea that their looks are what matter most.
And for anyone who's looking for help, please know that you are not alone, and there's support out there that's tailored specifically for you. There are organizations that offer dedicated online groups for all kinds of different experiences. Whether it's anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, there are people who get it, and you don't have to go through this by yourself. At the end of the day, I think this is what it all comes down to. Real power, real freedom comes when your sense of who you are isn't tied up in what you look like or what the scale says. It's about finding your value in who you are as a person and finding that happiness from the inside out.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. Forget about liking or disliking your body for a second. What does respecting your body actually mean to you? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for joining me for this one.